Good morning, everyone. We're going to wait just about a minute or so while everybody gets logged in. All right, I'm psyched. We already have a handful of people. I was just saying, this is our summer boot camp. And normally it's the first Friday of every month. This one got moved because of 4th of July. So I'm like, I bet you nobody's going to show up, but I'm really psyched that we got a good group of people to show up today. And I think it's wonderful. Today, my 15-year-old daughter didn't want to go to work. She's like, Mom, I really, really, really don't want to go to work today. And I said, Do you want me to call you in sick? She's like, Mom, this is what builds character. So I have to show up. So it
That's
doesn't matter
great.
that I don't feel like it. So here I am telling her I'll call her in sick. And she's like, Mom, this is what builds character. I have to show up. Whether I want to or not, I'm going. So
I love
uh,
that.
all right. So, welcome everybody to our monthly boot camp. If you are with another brokerage and you're seeing on the screen the our program and services guide, don't leave. We make our boot camp chock full of amazing information for your business. We are a real estate brokerage, so this class is put on by a real estate brokerage. But here's what I promise: it is not a recruiting event. This is tools, training, technology that will change your business. 95% of everything we cover today is available to all agents, whether you're with our brokerage or not. There's a couple tiny sections that are just for LAER agents, like when we go to some of the marketing systems we have. But for the most part, everything we cover today, from the Canva templates to the tools, you're going to have access to it whether or not you're with our brokerage. So don't leave. So we're excited. We've been doing our monthly boot camp for basically since the pandemic. We used to do these boot camps once a month as a live event where we'd rent out a hotel. But as the brokerage grew and we went into multiple states, now we have offices in 5 states, it got more difficult to get agents to come to a location because we are so spread out. So during the pandemic, we converted our entire boot camp to webinar basically. And we haven't stopped. Every single month, a good group of agents end up showing up. And it speaks to the tools, the training, the technology, everything that we cover today. It's really good information. Like if you're only going to take one class this year, this is the class to take, because we give you a blueprint to massive success in your real estate business. Not only do we give you the blueprint for that, we give you listing presentations, buyer presentations, pre-listing packages, you name it, we are covering it today. This is a 3-hour program. I always say we'll try to get out a little bit early, but oftentimes we do end up going right to the end. If you do have to leave early, all of our training, once we do a live event, we put it immediately right after the program on our YouTube station. So make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/LAER, LAER training. youtube.com/LAER training. You'll find all kinds of great training, but specifically, if you miss any portion of this, you can go back and rewatch it this afternoon or next week, whenever you want. I do like to start every program by reminding you that knowledge is not power, execution is power. Knowledge is potential. So it's important to have a pen and paper or a place that you can take notes throughout the morning, because we're going to be throwing a lot of stuff out at you. And we don't want you to invest so heavily in 3 hours with us, which is a really big commitment. We don't want you to invest 3 hours and then do nothing with it. In other words, we want you to take little pieces of this and go and execute. So, what should you be executing on? We're going to give you helpful hints throughout the program. So I'll point out areas that I'll say, like, hey, this is something that really you need to have in your business if you don't already have it. And I think a good number is like five or 10. And then, but there's literally, we're going to cover probably 30 or 50 items that you could add to your business just by watching today's program. But take 5 or 10. If you take 5 little things and go execute in your business, you can come back next month or watch the replay of this when you have time and then go execute on some more items. So let's dig in. What you're looking at right now is our LAER program and services guide. I always start here because this is like a magazine that we created for our agents to know what tools and stuff are available to them at LAER. It's very well organized and it kind of helps launch us into the most important pieces of today's program. By the way, anybody can download this guide at laerrealty.com/success tools. It's like a 40-page magazine. Just a little history on our brokerage. We're an independent real estate brokerage with offices throughout New England and Florida. We have about 800 real estate agents, and we're super focused on helping agents become the best versions of themselves. Where we got our name from, LAER, is when starting the brokerage 11 years ago. We didn't even have a name yet. And so what we knew was that our goal was to help all agents achieve greatness for their business. Well, what makes a great real estate agent? Truly great agents are strong. They are negotiators of difficult terrain. So if you think about it, the best real estate agents are just really good at overcoming obstacles. So if you're really good at overcoming all kinds of obstacles, because basically I feel like each real estate transaction is a bag of chaos, and that your job is to kind of work through the bag of chaos, get through all the obstacles, and in the end you get a reward for that. So overcoming obstacles. And the third thing that makes a great real estate agent is the best agents really don't focus on the money at all, the paycheck. Of course, you want to get paid for all of the good work you do, but that's not the focus of why you're doing what you're doing. So, 11 years ago, when we put all those words into a Google search, strong, protector, negotiator, the first thing that came up was a lion. We said, that's it. We're going to build our brand around the lions of real estate. Lions stay together in layers. So we said, we're going to build our brand around the lions of real estate who come together through our brokerage. We changed the spelling of LAER because ours is the mirror image of real. We also created the acronym Local Agents Extraordinary Results. I tell people that sometimes you see lion statues in front of a walkway. That is because the lion is a symbol of protection for the home. We look at it that there's a new symbol of protection for real estate across New England and Florida, and that is the LAER for sale sign. So we're 11 years old. And this book kind of chronicles all the stuff that we offer to our agents. But for today, it's just going to be a launch pad on our tools, because the way we organized this magazine is we organized it in a way, the things that matter most to the real estate agents comes first, which is marketing. Often that's like at the top most important things that agents need help with. So we're going to look at marketing, then our technology, then training and coaching, and then administrative support stuff. So first few pages of this guide just talk about our cultural values. I always tell agents when considering a brokerage, consider the values of that brokerage as compared to your personal values to make sure that they align so that you know you'll be at your brokerage for a long time. It then goes on to talk about the fact that we're an independent real estate brokerage. This makes us proud only because we are kind of like, I think we're kind of an endangered species. Most of the companies out there, these big franchises, we're small and independent, but we do a lot of business, consistently ranked by Real Trends 500 and the Riz Media Power Broker Report as one of the biggest brokerages in the country just based on the number of transactions we do. All right, now the good stuff. So this booklet then is broken down into 4 sections, as I said. The first section is marketing and branding, which is where we're going to spend the morning. This is where we're going to give you all kinds of templates that you can literally start using while you're watching our class. You can build your listing presentation, your buyer presentation, buyer guides, seller guides, investor guides, you name it, we have it all. So first section is marketing and branding. Then we're going to talk about some cool technology, talk about best places to get some more good training and coaching. And then it ends with just some other cool administrative tools to help you with your business. So we're going to dig into marketing and branding. By the way, as you go throughout this booklet, you will see lots of things that are underlined, like this one right here. Anytime you see something underlined within this magazine, it is a hyperlink to more information so that you can, we wanted the guide to be very interactive. So if you click on that, LAER Agent Services, this is where we're going to spend some time this morning. Okay, let's see. That's weird. Sergio, do you see that? Do you think that's my internet that's not loading? Nothing is loading.
Mine's the same way, Stacy, so it's not just your internet, it's mine as well.
That's super weird. This has never happened. So we'll have Sergio take a look at that because all of our resources that we spend the morning doing the class on are on our LAER Agent Services dashboard. So that is super weird. All right. While Sergio checks that out, hopefully we'll be able to load that on. That has never happened. And since we've had the LAER Agent Services dashboard, super bizarre. But we can at least start going right at the top of this Agent Services dashboard. You'll see that there is a table of contents. So there's 2 ways to use this dashboard. Number 1, the table of contents at the top, but also normally what we'll see, and hopefully we'll see this in a few minutes, is normally this is all little houses because we know real estate agents love to go explore real estate. Typically, this is all little houses that you can go explore different things for your business. So the whole top section is little houses with tools for agents that recently joined the brokerage. Then we have a section for agents that recently joined, just a welcome section for agents that just recently joined the brokerage. By the way, if you recently joined and you don't see your name or a picture here, it's because we're missing something. We either don't have your headshot yet or we don't have your bio. Once we have your bio and headshot, we introduce you here. We then have marketing, branding, and presentations, and this is where I spend a great deal of time today. And agent growth and development systems. We have a wonderful agent toolbox and an agent directory. I'm going to keep refreshing it, hoping that it fixes itself. And then at the top, we also have a table of contents at the top, which the table of contents at the top is really for the LAER agents. For example, right at the top, you'll see the Happy Agent host schedule. We have 30 plus offices throughout Mass, New Hampshire, Maine, Connecticut, Florida. And we have staff at all those offices at different times. If you're a LAER agent and need access to, maybe you have somebody dropping something off and you want to know if there's going to be a staff member in the office, you can just click on that calendar. It gives you the schedule for where everybody is at what time. That way somebody's dropping off a signed document or a check. We also have a section here with LAER News. So once a month, our team writes an internal newsletter for all of our agents. If you're a LAER agent, make sure you check this out once a month. We email it out to everybody, but it shows you who recently joined. You'll see we're already been doing this for about 3 years. Who recently joined the brokerage. We have a funny section. This is a 4-page newsletter, but we also always have a book recommendation, technology tips section, and then this is the most important section of the newsletter. What is happening with the agents within the brokerage? Did somebody have a marriage or a birth or a death in their family? All of it gets put here so that you know what is happening in the life of your fellow agents. And then we always have a movie section. Of course, our sustainability segment each month, and our happy birthday celebrations. So all kinds of good content. We put a lot of thought and effort in delivering a great newsletter for our team members. Okay, back to our dashboard. Still don't see it. Sergio, are you there?
Mine is working, Stacy. Do you want me to share my screen and
That's
I'll
weird.
follow you along?
I'm here. What's the issue?
Oh, if you look at both me and Ashley on the agent services dashboard, there's no buttons.
Oh,
But
Oh.
Craig said he has buttons.
let me see. Yeah, it's the same for me.
Craig, yours is fine.
It was. Let me share my screen.
Okay.
Yeah, you can share your screen. I don't see them on my end either. Let me check on the back end. Make sure everything's fine.
There's mine.
Sean O'Brien said his doesn't have them either.
That's so weird. This has literally never happened in the history.
You're seeing my screen now, right, Stace?
Yeah, what kind of computer do you have?
Just a laptop.
Not, is it Apple? Oh,
No, it's a ThinkPad. It's a PC. Maybe it's an Apple issue.
No,
No,
mine's not Apple.
I don't have Apple either.
Well, so much for that theory.
All right, we'll work off yours for a little bit while Sergio
Sounds
tries
good.
to troubleshoot.
Yep, I'll follow along.
Okay, so this is what the LAER Agent Services dashboard should look like with all these little houses on it. Super bizarre that the houses have all disappeared. I'm gonna guess it's an issue with the website company. But right at the very top, you'll see the resources for recently joined agents. The very first button, the program and services guide, is the booklet we were just looking at. So you already have that. You can actually download that at laerrealty.com/success tools. The next button is frequently asked questions if you recently joined LAER. That's just, we always, ooh, Sean just said his are back.
Mine
Let's see.
are back now. Try it.
All right, mine are back. I'm going to take it back.
Sounds good.
This is so bizarre.
Technology making our lives easier. Once again, Sergio.
Yes, I would like to thank the universe for this wonderful challenge today. Okay, there we go. The frequently asked questions. This is for if you recently joined LAER. As you guys know, we have a staff that answers questions all day long at happyagent@laerrealty.com. but let's say it's a Saturday night at 11 o'clock, you have a question, and there's a good chance we answered that question right here under the LAER GPS. And then under Tell the World, this is just all marketing pieces to announce if you recently joined the brokerage. And then if we scroll down to marketing, branding, and presentations, this is where we want to spend some time this morning. The button that has the most clicks at LAER Agent Services is guides, presentations, and brochures. This is where we'll spend the next 45 minutes or so because there's so much content on here. And one of the things to note about LAER is that most of our marketing is built off of Canva. So if you're not familiar with Canva, Canva is a marketing tool that makes it very easy to build marketing and branding pieces, even if you don't have any experience doing that. In the old days, we used to use Adobe to build our marketing pieces. The bad thing about using Adobe is that if an agent wanted a change on something, they couldn't go in and do that themselves. It was like you had to take a lot of classes to understand how to use that software. But with Canva, it's built for anybody. So download the app, go check out the website, and you can start building marketing pieces. LAER has already gone ahead and has built hundreds and hundreds of pieces for you. These are everything: buyer presentations, seller presentations, marketing pieces. We have a guide to buying a home, a guide to selling a home, a guide to investment property. We have expired listing booklets, buyer intake, seller intake, you name it, we have already created it. Now, a little bit to know about Canva in case you are not familiar with it. Make sure, by the way, when you're scrolling through all the stuff that you keep clicking the See More button at the very bottom so you don't miss anything. When you click on any of these templates, as just anybody from the outside clicking on these, once you open the template, it will open in Canva. So first, if you don't have a Canva account, it's going to prompt you to start a Canva account. Canva has two versions, a free version and a paid version. And for the most part, the free version will work just fine. There's a couple caveats, which I'll show you when we're inside a couple of these documents. But a free version, if you've never used Canva, will work fine right now. Anyways, when you open any of these templates, as soon as you open it in Canva, it is now your version of that item. So you can go ahead and make all your changes. And then if you go back to our LAER Agent Services and click on the same template, it's going to be blank again. Like, it's not going to have your information. Your information, the changes you make, are only in your version of it. So it is completely yours once you press the open template. So let's go look at some of the cool pieces here, because one of the things I said at the start of the program is you should have 5 items that you're going to go execute on once you finish today's program. And there's a good chance that the 5 things that you're going to want to execute on for your business are right in this section. So if you don't have a buyer presentation, you kind of need one now. If you don't have a listing presentation, you need one. I also think you should have really nice packages: a buyer package, a seller package, and an investor package. And there's other cool tools that you will find floating around here. So let's go look at some of the most used pieces within here. Really, they're all used quite a bit. I'm going to start with one other caveat I just want to mention. If you're with another brokerage especially, is I'm going to take you down to a buyer presentation first. And if you don't have a buyer presentation, I think in the old days, like pre last year, you could probably get away with not having a buyer presentation. But now that we're required to have a buyer sign something to go show them a house, I think that your life will be so much easier if you demonstrate your value before you ask somebody to sign a document. Signing a document makes people uneasy. So you want people to feel super comfortable signing document with you, just like when you go on a listing presentation. Usually, if you show up at a listing presentation, most agents have some sort of presentation that the consumer feels really comfortable signing a contract with them. We have to have that with our buyers too, which is why you need a buyer presentation. So that's from the client's point of view. They're going to feel more comfortable if they know who you are, what you do, what makes you different from other real estate agents. You have to, this is a tool to build trust. But beyond that, if you watch some of the classes we do, and I'll point these out throughout the program today, these are your checklist manifestos. So there's a wonderful book by Atul Gawande called The Checklist Manifesto about how checklists can completely transform your business and your life. And a buyer presentation and a seller presentation are checklist manifestos. In other words, let's say that you go on a listing appointment, and I always share this example. I have an agent that this happened to several years ago. We have an agent in our Bill Ricca office who literally probably donates, I want to say 20 hours plus a week to charitable endeavors. Like she treats her charitable endeavors like giving her time and money. She treats it like it's her job. And so she's constantly helping. She gives time to a wildlife refuge all weekend. She raises tons of money for cancer programs, stuff like that. Anyways, several years ago, she was on a listing, and she does a lot of business. She was on a listing and she didn't get the listing. So she called the client. She said, "Can I just ask you what I could have done differently? Why you didn't choose me, just so I know for going forward?" And the property owner said, "We liked both of you, you and the agent that we selected. The difference is that agent just does so much for these cancer charities, and my wife had breast cancer." And so my agent called me and said, "I can't imagine that the person does more than I do for charity." And I said, "Yeah, but do you talk about it? Do you put any of it into your presentation?" And she said, "No, I don't put it in my presentation because that's not why I do it." And I said, "Well, if you're not talking about it, it's the same as not doing it in the eyes of the consumer." So I said, my recommendation is just put something in your presentation, just letting people know. That way it sparks the conversation with that consumer. So in that way, these presentations are checklist manifestos. They are opportunities. They're a checklist of things that you should be speaking about when you meet with a buyer or seller. And when something goes wrong, when you don't get a particular client, it gives you the ability to look at it and say, what could I have spoken about in our meeting that could have changed the outcome? And then you go back and revise your presentation, your checklist, for a better result or a different result next time. So let's take a look. Oh, the other caveat I wanted to say, in case you're working at another brokerage, or even if you're a LAER agent, is on some of these marketing or branding pieces, you'll see that we have two different versions, one for New England and one for Florida. And that is because we practice two different types of representation in New England versus Florida. In Florida, most of our agents are transaction brokers, which is very common in Florida. Most offices do practice transaction brokerage in Florida. So the promises we make within our marketing pieces are going to look different in Florida than they do in New England. In other words, the fiduciary responsibility of the agent slash brokerage is slightly different in Florida versus New England. So our marketing or branding pieces, our presentations have to reflect that. We don't offer the same level of fiduciary responsibility across all the offices. It varies slightly. So if you, first, any agent, as you're creating your marketing pieces, think about the promises you're making and make sure they fall within the scope of the type of brokerage that you work for. So that's number one. If you're not a LAER agent, this is something that you should review once you go in and customize your pieces, because we open up all of our templates so you can 100% access everything I'm showing you here. You can take out logos, you can add your own logo, your own contact information, but super important just for to make sure you're keeping everything legal. I would, if you're with another brokerage, just make sure that you're not over promising your fiduciary duty in any of the pieces that you're using. And that's something that your broker can review it and make sure it looks good. Okay, I just clicked on the a guide to buyer representation. This is the New England version. You'll see there's a Florida version that looks very similar. But when you open, as I mentioned, anytime you open a piece, it is now yours. You now own it. So you can go in and change anything. You can take out, I could delete a logo, I could change my name, I could change the photos in the background. Now, I briefly mentioned that there's a free version and a paid version of Canva. You can use all the pieces that I'm sharing today, even with a free version of Canva. The paid version, first of all, is $15 a month, 1.5. So I actually think every real estate agent should have the paid version of Canva, but I get it. There's a lot of like little expenses that you have as a real estate agent, and they tend to add up. I would opt for the paid version of this, but if you can't or don't want to, the free version, the only issue you may have using some of our pieces is all of our marketing pieces are built on the paid version of Canva. And the only difference you will note is that some of the pieces, so for example, this is the buyer presentation for New England. I'm going to show this in presentation mode only because it's easier for you guys to see it. So at the beginning, we have like the just explains what it is. And then it's got a place for your name. So you would slide your photo over into this, and then you would put all of your contact information and your logo and a little about me section in there. This is one of my pet peeves, by the way. We'll cover this more later, but you should have a professional photo and a good bio on all of your stuff, because remember, your bio is your resume. And what we're doing when we go on a listing presentation or a buyer presentation, we're applying for a job. So you should have a good resume. Your bio should be complete. But back to the paid versus the free version of Canva. If you're using the free version of Canva, occasionally you're going to see an image embedded within our pieces. Like, see this image of a couch? If you see a big Canva watermark across the image, that means that you have the free version of Canva and we used the paid version of Canva. That means that for you, if you want to keep the free version of Canva, you have to switch the photo. You have to take the photo out. By the way, there's even with the free version of Canva, there's like 1,000,000+ stock images. It's just with one of the reasons that I suggest the upgrade, the $15 a month for Canva, is because then you get like 10 million stock images. And we like to have a lot of stock images because we're in the marketing business as real estate agents. So I like having lots of photos available. Anyways, if you're using the free version of Canva, and you're in one of our pieces, like a listing presentation or a buyer presentation, and you see the big Canva watermark, all it's telling you is that you have to delete that photo and add another photo. You can do it right within Canva because you have 1,000,000 other photos you can choose from, but you have to change it out. Same if you try to download the document, you go through, you customize the whole presentation, and then you go to download it and it won't let you download. That means somewhere within your presentation or the piece that you're working on, there is an image that you have to change out. You might have missed it. So somewhere within the document that you're working on, there is an image that has that Canva logo across it, and you have to go in and change it, delete out that image, put in a new image, and then you can use the document like any other real estate agent. So, a couple things I want to note about the buyer presentation. What should you have in your buyer presentation? Well, certainly anything that makes you a little bit different. The idea is you want to show what your value is. Now, one of the ways that we've structured this buyer presentation, once you get past like the piece about with your bio, your picture, who you are, some testimonials, etc., we then go into the 10-step buying process. So the idea of this presentation is you get a call, somebody wants to go look at houses, and you say, I would love to show you open houses or any house. I'm excited to show you houses. Can you come into the office so we can go through a quick 20-minute process of how this will all work, and I will get you set up to start receiving text and emails of new properties as they hit the market. Now, remember, this whole presentation is your checklist manifesto. This is going to help you have a successful relationship with your client. So the person comes into the office, you get out your computer or your tablet, and you say, I just want to go through quickly this presentation, and it covers the 10 steps to buying a home. Now, number one is evaluation, consultation, and representation. And we load this from the very start with the question about compensation, getting paid as a buyer agent. So you'll see, do I need a buyer agent? It then explains why they need a buyer agent and should not be unrepresented. It then says how agents are paid. And it talks about the way buyer representation works, and that if they feel comfortable at the end of this presentation, we're going to sign a buyer representation contract. And here's the things that I agree to when signing the contract. In other words, we want to make it clear that this is not a one way, like you're signing a contract and so that I can get paid. No, this is a two-way contract. I am committing to things too as a real estate agent. So it goes through all the things that the realtor is committing to, and then it goes through all the things that the client is committing to. So that the client is committing to only working with you, setting up all property showings through you, things like that. We then suggest actually cutting and pasting and putting your buyer representation agreement in here. We have one in here, but this is a Massachusetts one, and you might not be a Massachusetts agent. It doesn't matter. Like, this should be a screenshot of the actual agreement so that you can just go through really quickly what the pieces of the buyer contract say. It then says, hey, by the way, when we put in an offer, we're going to put in the offer subject to the seller contributing to the buyer agent fee. I get it, by the way, there's certain buyers that don't need this, but this is just taking that whole conversation. It's very interesting speaking to real estate agents because they're so afraid to talk to the consumer about this. We load it right into the beginning of the presentation because we want it just off the table. It shouldn't be this big thing that you worry about at all. We're going to put it right at the beginning. We're going to say, this is how, what will happen at the end of this presentation is if you feel super comfortable, we know they're going to feel comfortable. If you feel comfortable, we're going to sign a buyer agent contract. I get paid whatever your percentage is. And by the way, we're going to ask the seller to contribute towards that when we put an offer in. So we're putting that as number one of the top 10 things because some agents say, well, can I put this at the very end of the presentation? 100%. However, your buyer is going to be thinking about it through the whole presentation. Because one of the things that buyers worry about is, how do I pay my agent and can it be rolled into my offer? So if you're speaking about it as number 10 on your list of 10 things, through items 1 through 9, that's what's on the mind of your buyer. Instead, let's take the most important piece right off their mind, that they don't have to think about that anymore because it's the number one thing that we have that we've covered. Okay, step 2, and this is how easy it goes. When you have a nice presentation, the buyer is not going to get stuck on number 1. You've already explained it, and now you're on to step 2, determining a comfortable price range, evaluating mortgage options, what they should be shopping for in mortgages. Remember, most buyers, this is their first time. They have no idea. They think that they can call around and ask what interest rates are, but interest rates only a teeny piece of choosing a mortgage person. You're going to then explain what a pre-approval is versus a pre-qualification, that they want to get all their documentation in so that they have a real pre-approval. And you're going to talk about what mortgage insurance is. Step 3, you're going to start evaluating communities, and you give them some ideas of what to think about when evaluating communities. Commuting distance, school reports if they have children, crime stats, community services. Maybe they need access to airports, trains, or farms, but also maybe they have sensory considerations. Maybe they don't want a train or airport near them because they don't want to listen to it, as well as area home prices and property taxes. Step 4, you're going to sign them up to receive real-time property updates by text, by email. You're going to ask them for their preferences. Like, do you want to receive them by email, by text, both? Do you want to get a daily list, or do you want to be notified as soon as a house hits the market? Now, this one is really important. So I said your buyer presentation is your checklist manifesto. That means that anytime something goes wrong in your presentation, in other words, anytime you find out down the road something went wrong on a transaction, maybe it was that you didn't get the client. Why didn't you get the client? Because they ended up shopping at Zillow. I tell our agents that if you're not talking about Zillow with your buyers, then you are losing business to Zillow. So that's why we put a slide right within the presentation that lets them know why they should not go to Zillow to search for real estate. So why do consumers go to Zillow to search for real estate? In my opinion, it's because most real estate agents use the MLS. The MLS has a functionality where you can sign up the client to get property alerts. And those are so outdated and not pretty and boring that the consumer's like, where can I go to get nice property listings? And of course, Zillow is the first place they think of. The problem is we don't want them going to Zillow because they get led down a yellow brick path to another real estate agent. Number two, it's not in their best interest to go to Zillow. Zillow is not the best place to look for real estate. So you have to let the consumer know that Zillow is not a real-time update. In other words, you don't want them to fall in love with the house on Zillow that went under agreement last week and it just hasn't, the feed hasn't been updated. Number two, Zillow doesn't allow you to do really precise property searches. I think that it's a $50,000 increments is the increments within which you can search. Number three, the consumer thinks that they're contacting a listing agent. We know that that is typically not the case. For sellers, we know that the Zestimates are typically highly inaccurate, especially in most of our markets where the market is shifting downwards. And most of the time, the consumer does not realize that by going to Zillow, their information is being sold to mortgage and real estate people, which means they're going to get inundated with calls. So these, just having a slide and explaining this to the consumer, not only does it help the consumer, it helps you because your client is not going to get led down a yellow brick path to another real estate agent. Secondly, we also put a slide in here about visiting open houses, letting your client know what to do when they visit open houses. They have to understand that they are represented. I can't tell you how many times I see consumers that have no idea that they are represented by an agent because the agent wasn't clear about the paperwork that they were handing the person to sign. So that buyer is represented because the agent had them sign something, but they don't understand that they're represented. And so they're out at open houses looking freely at properties, telling other real estate agents they're not represented when they are. So we have that in the buyer presentation to avoid that problem. Next, we want to let the consumer know what to do when they see a FSBO, a for sale by owner. Their neighbors decided to sell. You want to make sure the consumer knows that they should contact you and you're going to negotiate that transaction for them. Next, step 5, property due diligence. All the things that you're going to do as a great buyer agent. You're going to pull tax records, make sure permits have been pulled, lead paint records, condo docs, a Google search. Step 6, your pricing and offer strategy. You can talk about what will happen if there is a bidding war on a potential property they like. And then step 7, you're going to talk about what it means to write an offer. Oftentimes, the first time the buyer sees an offer form is when they're writing an offer on a property. That's not how it should be. Really, that's something that they should review way in advance at this initial meeting so that they feel fully informed throughout the entire process. So you could give them a copy of the actual offer form so that they can look at it. You can then explain to them that sometimes we're going to write offers and they're going to get rejected. What are the options when an offer is rejected? Maybe it's resubmitting with different terms, putting in a backup offer, or just resuming the home search. And then what to do once the offer is accepted. So you could talk about home inspection, mortgage. Do they have a home sale contingency? Step 8, you're going to talk about inspections. And you can talk about the fact that there's more than just home inspections. They could consider lead paint, mold, radon, well and water inspection, septic, electrical, foundation, termite, roof, pool. Think about when you bought a house. Did your real estate agent go through all of these things? This differentiates you from other agents within the marketplace. So super detailed. We'll kind of rush through the rest of it because we have a lot more to cover. Talking step 9 is appraisal and mortgage conditions. What is an appraisal? Preventing mortgage declines. This is part of your checklist manifesto too. Make sure to remind them that they can't go buy a car. They can't do finance their furniture, even if there's no payments for a really long time. Homeowners insurance. This is really important. It's becoming important everywhere in the country, but in certain parts of the country, like Florida, if the house's roof is 8 years old, you have a problem right off the bat because homeowners insurance won't even touch it at 10 years old. So even at 8 or 9 years old, you potentially have a problem getting homeowners insurance. And then step 10 is closing. And what does a closing look like? Final walkthrough, closing documents. And that's it. So basically, by the way, all of this you can go and customize as much as you want. The idea is to make this yours. But most importantly, we want the consumer to feel super comfortable in signing a buyer contract. So that's just one. We do have we do have several other I'm gonna exit out of that one. We do have several other presentations in here. That was our buyer presentation. I wanted to spend a little time on that one specifically because I think there's still agents that don't even have a buyer presentation. And almost always when I get a call from an agent who's having a really hard time getting a buyer to sign a buyer contract, it is because they have not shown any value. So of course the consumer is going to be super leery of signing something when they don't understand, like, why do I have to sign this and what am I getting out of it? And so you have to be the agent that shows up with a really strong presentation. So that was our buyer presentation for New England. We do have a Florida version as well. We have listing presentations. We have a couple, both buyer and listing presentations. By the way, shortly you're going to get to hear from Craig Foley, our Chief Sustainability Officer. And we have built for agents that want to build a niche around sustainability. We have a high performing home buyer presentation and high performing home listing presentation. All of this stuff that we have created, it looks pretty. It is branding pieces, but most important of all, it is substance. How many real estate agents out there have zero substance? Like they're not sharing or showing, they don't possess value to sell to the consumer. And all of this, everything you have here is chock full of real value. And of course, you can go in and make it your own and add your additional qualifications above and beyond that. But this is the stuff that wins buyers, and this is the stuff that wins sellers. So first off, if you don't have a buyer presentation, number one item on your list of things to do when you leave today's program is go build your buyer presentation. We've done 90% of the work. So instead of it taking you 3 days to build a really good buyer presentation, it will now take you a half an hour to customize the one we've created for you. Same with listing presentation. You must have a great listing presentation. If you want to win listings, you got to show what makes you different and valuable. You have to display substance. So go customize a listing presentation. Number 3, you should have a buyer package, a seller package, and an investor package. So we have so many items on here for buyers. For example, here's our buyer's guide. You'll see we have a separate one for Florida because the fiduciary duty is slightly different. Here's the buyer's guide. So this is, I won't go through these as detailed as I did the last one, but this is a buyer guide. Let's see, I think this one. So this prints 8.5 by 11. So many of our agents customize by putting their contact info and photo. This one's 18 pages and it's 8.5 by 11. Typically our agents print them and bind them right at the office. So, impressive materials. Secondly, we have a seller's guide that looks very similar to that. Yeah, LAER agent seller guide. Again, anybody can use these. You don't have to be a LAER agent. You can change out logos on these. And there we go. This is a seller guide again, 8.5 by 11. It's got a little table of contents at the beginning. This one's 14 pages. We also have an investor guide. If you work with investors, we'll find that one. Here's the investor guide, LAER guide to real estate investing. Again, this is for like beginner investors. And this one, this one's 11 pages. So all these you can customize. They take 20 minutes maybe to customize. Of course, read through everything. Don't just customize and add your photo. If you're a LAER agent, we have our LAER brochure. It's a 4-page brochure about LAER in here. Trusted vendor list. If you've taken our Algorwin program, which is our agent growth system, we talk a lot about having a really strong vendor list. In fact, you can build a successful business. If you have no sphere of influence, like you're newer in the business, you can build a massive business by focusing just on vendors in your marketplace. Not only vendors that are real estate related, home inspection, landscaping, stuff like that, but just businesses within the community you do business in. You can build a massive business by focusing on their businesses. We share all that in our Algorwin program. We have these little local guides. So let's say you have an open house coming up in Delray Beach, Florida, and you want to give anybody that comes into your house something to walk away with besides a listing sheet. These are very cute, like a little locals guide where you put your favorite bike path, your favorite place for dinner and drinks, your favorite dessert shop, the local library, the local boutiques, the farmer's market. Let's see. Oh, I also love these Monopoly board pieces. We have one for buyers and one for sellers. This is just a flyer. So this goes through, this one's for the buyer. You put your contact info, but it takes the client through the buying process on a Monopoly board. Okay, so we already said you should have a buyer presentation and you should have a listing presentation. As well, You should have a buyer package, a seller package, and an investor package. The key pieces to those 3 packages, and when I say a package, I mean like a folder that you hand out to people so that when you meet somebody for the first time and they say they're looking, you're at Starbucks and somebody says they want to buy a house, you could say, let me run out to my car. And you go out to your car and you get a package and you bring it in and you say, here's some information. I heard you were looking to buy a house, and here's some tools. And it'll have your buyer guide. Maybe it's the monopoly board of the buyer process, a brochure about the brokerage, maybe a locals guide. Just have a few things in there so you look really professional when you hand it to people. By the way, I also always say that these packages that you make should be done in advance, not waiting for a customer to call you to then create the package. When you have all of your packages done in advance, your energy is telling the world that you're open for business. So you will get business just by the fact that your packages are all done and ready to go. I say put a bunch of them, your buyer, seller, and investor packages, in a huge Tupperware box within your car. So as you're out in the world meeting people, you hear somebody wants to buy or sell a house, you look amazing because you already have this amazing package instead of just a business card that somebody puts in their pocket and it goes through the laundry and your business card is gone. Give them a nice package. You'll also see we have a really nice for sale by owner guide. So have some for sale by owner packages maybe. So you drive by a for sale by owner. This is a guide for a for sale by owner. There's other really cool stuff. We don't have the time to go through everything, but there's like, if you're a consumer if you're going on a listing presentation and they have kids, there's like a kids listing contract. I do like this for sale by owner guide. Talks about why it kindly directs the consumer to think twice about listing on their own. Because when they have a real estate agent, first of all, you kind of already know all the stuff you have to do, from the paperwork to due diligence to securing the house for safety, negotiating. Always having a middleman is better for negotiating, things like that. Even for liability, it's better for the seller to have representation instead of doing it themselves. So that's a 29-page booklet we created specifically for sale by owners. You just put your picture, your contact info, and your bio in there. But there's even more. You want to do first-time homebuyer classes? We've created courses for you. So you don't even have to go create the course. We have already created the whole PowerPoint presentation. You can just open it and start using it. And I think that's it. You just basically have to go through and hand pick the pieces, but I think the best place to start, a buyer presentation, a seller presentation, plus a buyer package, a seller package, an investor package, maybe a for sale by owner package. That's a really good place to start for all of it, and it should all be done. You don't want to wait until you have the appointment to go create this stuff. You want to be open for business now, which means go create this now, because then the energy you project out into the universe is like, hey, this package was made for somebody, instead of waiting for somebody to come to you and then you have to panic and put everything together. There's also a button here for NAR settlement resources. It's a little bit dated now, but if you need, we created, first of all, a playbook to all the real estate forms once all the changes happen. So it's like a 150-page booklet for all the states we're in and what all the new forms are. Hopefully you don't need that anymore, but if you do, it's there. But there's some really good articles here that we pulled together. If you have either a buyer who doesn't think they need a buyer agent. There's great articles here that you can just click on it and they're ready to print, as to why. So this is third party articles saying why a buyer needs to have a buyer agent. As well, if you have a seller who does not see the value of paying for a buyer agent for the buyer, we have also created here, we've pulled together articles as to why a seller should offer or at least be willing to pay a buyer agent. Otherwise, they are constricting their own market by not having that on the table as a tool in their negotiations. So all kinds of stuff, and that is under the NAR settlement resource button. The social media assistant, we're going to cover in a little bit. We do have a team that puts out social media content every month for our agents. There's just tons of stuff here. We'll have Sergio do a little presentation of some of the marketing stuff shortly. If you're a LAER agent and you need something, as you can see, we create everything. So LAER agent especially should never have to create anything for their business. But maybe you need an advertisement or whatever you want. Our team will create it for you. Just click on the special marketing request. Typically what we get through here is, let's say you have $1 million listing and you want like a multi-page brochure for your new listing. That is one of the biggest requests we get from the special marketing page. Open house resources. These are just cool resources for open houses. So maybe little signs to put around the house. We've got them. Interior 6x4 signs, welcome signs, sign-in sheets, as well, like little pop-by tags for popcorn. So you can get microwave popcorn and put a little thank you for popping in open house tag for those. And then we also have activity sheets for kids. All of that's under our open house section. These are all in Canva, so you could actually put your logo and contact information. But definitely if you're doing open houses, it's a good idea to not forget about the kiddos. So if somebody comes through and they have little kids, you don't want them to be distracted that they can't look at the house. So just set up a little coloring booth right on the kitchen tables. Keep the kids occupied. Also, we have been building out, this is newer for us, we've been building out a commercial real estate section. We have a lot of agents that are looking for new and different niches for their business because the market, some of our markets are extremely constricted right now. So one of the niches many agents have been tapping into is commercial real estate. So here you can find all kinds of commercial resources, from commercial listing presentation, commercial offering memorandum, a commercial spreadsheet for evaluating a business, evaluating a commercial property, etc. Let's see. And we have a section here for signs, apparel, and marketing. I'm going to come back to that in a little bit. The ROAR report. One of the things agents often like to send out monthly is a newsletter. In real estate, there are two types of newsletters that you can be sending out. One is an email newsletter. This is not that. The other type of newsletter is a printed newsletter that you can give out at open houses, that you can distribute around town. I said last month I was so excited to go into my local hardware shop at the center of town, and right on the front counter, one of our agents had customized the ROAR report and had them displayed in a little holder, a little brochure holder right at the front of the store, the ROAR report. That's what these are for, is you want to have little businesses where you share your newsletter about what's happening in the market. So our team writes a newsletter once a month. It's called the ROAR Report. You can print it in either 8.5 by 11, which is 4 pages. Typically, you would staple it together. Or we also put it out on 11 by 17. So if you want to print it and then fold it, when you click on this as a Canva template, you're going to see these big red circles. That is so you know what you have to change on there. Because not only do you have to update your name, your phone number, your contact information, but we also encourage you to do a little trivia giveaway once a month. So you got to put who your winners are. Anyways, we customize this once a month, but also you can customize these as much as you want. So some of our agents will, for example, partner with a mortgage company who will help defer some of the postage or printing costs. And so they'll put an advertisement for that mortgage person right in the ROAR report. So you can do that all. You can just cut out an entire piece of the ROAR report and put your advertisement in here. We talk about the ROAR report in our Algorithm class, because one of the ways to build a business around vendor partners is by featuring those vendors monthly in different places like social media, but also the ROAR report. So imagine that you feature the local coffee shop in your ROAR report. Now you can go to the coffee shop and say, is it okay if I put my ROAR report up here and I'm going to feature your business this month? So that is also a really cool tool for your business. And again, that gets updated every month. They put out a new one. We have a button here for logos and images. If you're a LAER agent, we have all kinds of different logos that you can use. And then seasonal pop-by tags. If you've been through our Algorithm Business Growth System program, which is a workbook plus our 12-week class, one of the pieces we talk about is getting out regularly and visiting friends, family, past customers, vendor partners, but always bring a small item of value. Well, these are all the tags, so you can have fun little pop-by gifts when you go and visit someone. We've made all the pop-by tags for you in a Canva format, so you can pick something. 4th of July is gone, but maybe you could do an ice cream scoop giveaway. So this is just tags that you would print out and include or tie on to an ice cream scoop, so that when you're out visiting your past customers, you have a small item of value to give. So that is under pop-by tags. We also have here 2 different generators for you. The first one is a listing description generator. This is for agents that don't want or don't understand how to use ChatGPT. This will create a listing description for you. You just put in how many paragraphs you want, your email address, the address of the property, what type of property, and then it asks you some questions about the property. Press submit. The system will email you a listing description. So you're done. You don't have to sit and think about what you're going to write. The system does a really good job of writing a very good description. Caveat: always, always, always read it. Do not just cut and paste it to your listing, because occasionally it will write something that is against fair housing standards. So you have to read it. So for example, you don't want to use trigger words like walk-in or things that your MLS is going to kick back and say you can't have that in your listing. And this system does not scrub for that. So you have to read it and make sure that you've not made a fair housing violation before you paste it into your listing. We also have an agent bio generator. I already said my piece on this. So many agents have terrible bios. The first thing a consumer does when they meet a stranger, any stranger, maybe their daughter is dating somebody from school, the first thing that person, the family does is Google, who is the new boyfriend? They're Googling it to see what they can find about the person. Well, the same is true for you in real estate. A neighbor recommends, hey, call John. He's an amazing real estate agent. The first thing that that neighbor's doing is Googling John. They want to know as much as they can. And so one of the pieces that we go through in the Algorwin program is if you Googled you, would you use you? Like, do you have really good bio? On the first page of a Google search of your name, you got to click on all those links and make sure your photo is up to date and your bio is up to date. So easy to do a really good bio. This system does it for you. You just have to fill it in, and this will email the bio to you. By the way, both of these links are fine even if you're not a LAER agent. You can go use these because we don't do anything with the listing description or the agent bio. We're not receiving it. It's just going directly to you. Okay, before I keep going, I think I'm gonna have Craig, from our Chief Sustainability Officer, go through a little presentation for you guys on sustainability and some of the cool initiatives we have happening at LAER, but also some of the reasons why you should check out getting your green designation so that you can stand out even more in your business. So I'll let you take it from here, Craig.
Thanks, Stacy. Hey, I have a question for you before you
Yes.
go, though. I've been in the business for 25 years, like you. And when I joined with my first brokerage, they had me sign an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, which was just silly because, back then in particular, all the brokerages did the same thing, So it's just stupid, I thought. And you've got kind of the opposite approach here, and I want to ask you a why question, right? So you're opening this up to all of our tools, which are unique to brokerages and agents from any place. And I'm just curious why you've made that choice. I love the choice. I love the choice that we're kind of open source about everything. But what's your reasoning behind that? I don't think I've ever asked you this question, actually.
I think it's a couple things. Number one, our goal is to help every agent be the best version of themselves. First of all, I don't think success is a secret, anyways. Like, if you want to go digging for it, you could find all the answers have already been created for you. Many years ago, by the way, when I first I was in mortgages first, and I don't know, some people might remember this, but there was Howard Britton had Star Power, and Howard Britton was like this coach, but people flocked to him because he had this website that you could go to. And I was never a member of Star Power, and I would go to that site all the time because you had the best of the best in the industry sharing like their listing presentations, buyer presentations. So that's what this is. The cool thing is back then the technology didn't exist, so you'd have to like download it and then copy it yourself. So there was still a great deal of work, but still, I was like, this is amazing that I don't have to start from ground zero. I could start so far ahead of the game. But at the end of the day, great agents are going to be great agents no matter what. Like, that's why I do believe the brand in real estate is the individual agent. You're going to be great no matter what. I don't think that us giving you an extra tool or extra technology is going to be, anyways, I don't think withholding it from you is going to stop anybody from being great. So why withhold it?
Right. Well, I love it anyway. I mean, and I love that our sustainability resources are available for everybody too. And as you know, we have those kind of advertised through NAR, through the green designation, so people can use those tools as well. So as Stacy said, I'm the Chief Sustainability Officer for LAER Realty Partners. When I joined LAER, which was my birthday in 2019, it was the first Chief Sustainability Officer for a residential real estate company in the country. And now there are a bunch of them out there, which is great to see that that's developed and it's become a priority for brokerages all across the United States. One of the things that I do, probably the most common thing I do, is our agents know that when they have an issue popping up that deals with this intersection of real estate and sustainability, they have someone to call. It kind of cracked me up, Stacy, when you said at the beginning of the presentation, I had never heard this from you, a real estate transaction's a bag of chaos, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's a great way of putting it. And one of the chaos pieces typically falls in when you have a home with a power plant on the rooftop, right? A solar PV system, photovoltaic system, a home that's producing electricity for the homeowner. The homeowner may own that system outright. It may be owned by a third party agreement in which the homeowners entered into either a power purchase agreement or a solar lease with that third party owner. And there's been a lot of confusion, certainly from real estate agents about how those work, and even attorneys about how those work. So our agents know that there is a place to go to when they run into those kinds of issues, that I can help them work their way through it. One of the things that is rapidly evolving in the industry is homeowners, both existing homeowners and certainly new construction, particularly here in Massachusetts, because we have one of the most aggressive building codes in the United States of America, is something we call high performance homes. So I tend not to use the word green because, there's kind of a political kind of ramification behind that term, particularly, right now. And that's unfortunate. But the cool thing about these homes that are built better is that they really do perform better than typical homes that are out there. The performance areas in which they perform better is certainly in terms of utility costs, a home that's more resilient to extreme weather events, a healthier home, and all of these things are things that we can actually make visible. And I'm going to just share a screen that I don't think I've ever shared when I've done this presentation. This is from one of our partners at LAER Realty Partners, Pearl Certification. You can see Pearl up here, their logo, what that looks like. And this is actually my home, which is an 1895 Victorian. And my wife and I did a very substantial remodel of our home back in 2022. And I have learned a lot over the 25 years I've been in the business and the couple of decades that I've been working in this green building world with great builders and architects out there about the priorities that I wanted to have as we were remodeling our 1895 Victorian. So I used an app. It's called Green Door app. You can see it right up at the top of the screen up here. That's free to use for homeowners that have made high performance improvements on their home, or even I'm encouraging a couple of design build teams that I'm working with to use this app as they build a property too, because all of the pieces that we're going to talk about in terms of the high performance aspects of my wife and I's home in Melrose are now captured in this screen, and they can be transferred to the new home buyer. So you'll see that I have spec sheets for my HVAC system, which is ductless mini splits. In here, I have EV parking, so the spec sheets for all of those are involved. Building envelopes. I'm going to just show you one example of this. I'm hitting building shell right now, and you can see that there are different assets here. So I'm going to just show you the wall insulation, for instance. When we were doing the remodel, one of the things that I was very committed to, because we were going to be switching to heat pumps for the heating and cooling of the home, is I wanted to really tighten the building envelope of the home. So this is kind of a before and after when this closed cell spray foam for the home was installed. I captured pictures of that before the walls got buttoned up, partly because I want to make sure that whenever we decide to sell, which we're not going on the market anytime soon, we love this house, has access to kind of how the invisible of energy efficiency actually works. And this is in terms of building envelope. Closed cell spray foam insulation has a lot of advantages. Now, all the insulation types out there have advantages and disadvantages. The choice my wife and I made was closed cell spray foam because it has the best R value per inch. So it's the best performing. And it also does air sealing and water sealing. And for an 1895 Victorian as well, when that closed cell spray foam cures, it actually adds to the building resilience of the home. It makes the home structurally more sound. So just kind of, when we're talking about what a high performance home is, these are kind of good examples of what we're talking about. Heating and cooling. So I'm going to go to this asset right here. And again, this app is free to use. Anybody can use this. Certainly, if you were an agent and you were remodeling your home and making high performance improvements, I would certainly encourage you to use this app from, again, our partner, Pearl Certification. So you can see the heat pump system, the ductless mini split system, is fully referenced here. It's Energy Star certified. You see the reference numbers for the units. I've got pictures in here of the system when it was being installed. There's also the spec sheets in here. And again, all of this fully transferable to the homeowner, to the new home owner when we go to sell. Some of the things for base load, for instance, a lot of information in here as well. So the water heater is a heat pump hot water heater. Again, these are all systems out there, technology that's out there that has rapidly evolved in the marketplace that define high performance, a better performing home out there. So again, spec sheets in there, the Rheem hot water heater, and information for new home buyers. So we don't have solar PV on our home yet, but we do have, my wife has an electric vehicle. We also condoed this home, so our downstairs homeowners, when we sold the home, also did the remodel at the same time. They have also, they have an electric vehicle charging station as well. So all of this stuff, again, can be defined. This is all part of what we think of when we think about high performance homes. This is just a great app, and I thought I'd share it with you to describe high performance features just in general, right? There's a ton of them in here on this dashboard. Again, on the base load stuff, the cooking appliance, we used an induction cooktop. Our refrigerator's Energy Star rated, our dishwasher's Energy Star rated, and all of the spec sheets for all of this stuff is all included in here. Very useful app, very helpful. I'm going to highlight one other thing because I'm going to give you some more resources for this as well. In the document section here, there is, Pearl Certification does a really great job of being able to help the listing agent understand the process of green valuation, high performance home valuation. Believe it or not, there is a different process for homes with significant high performance improvements like mine. And it's not just about the comps anymore. So you can see that there is a buyer letter here and a lender letter here. So this is a letter that is actually produced by NAR that Pearl Certification has made a little bit simpler for people to use to require a high performance home appraiser. So we can't pick a specific appraiser anymore, but we can demand a qualified appraiser for our home. So when I list my home, well, I won't be listing it. I'm not stupid enough to list my own home. I will be getting a green designated agent to list my home and having them upload into the MLS that we're demanding a qualified appraiser, an appraiser that's gone through the Valuation of Sustainable Buildings program. There are, I don't know, 8 or 9 in the state of Massachusetts, and I can demand from my lender that we have one of those appraisers that knows the valuation process of these high performance home pieces in them. You can see that also Pearl Certification fills out the Appraisal Institute's Green Residential and Energy Efficient Addendum. That's down here on the bottom right. Fully filled out. That's an addendum to the URAR, the Uniform Residential Appraisal Report, another 5-page addendum specifically about the high performance home features for the home. That's a really important piece for my listing agent to pass on to the qualified appraiser when they come to take a look at the home, so that they can use the pieces in the AI Green Addendum to make a case to the bank underwriter the value of the high performance home improvements that are out there. I'm going to just click on one more thing. I'm going to download this house tour piece here, and hopefully this shows up when I click on this. Let's see if I can open it. Do I have to switch screen? Do you see something that says attic insulation? You got it.
Yep.
So this is specifically designed for my home. And you can see this makes kind of the invisible visible as well. So Pearl Certification, because they've certified the property, a third party has certified the property, is stating my attic insulation is in the top 5% of Massachusetts homes. Rim joist insulation, again, stuff that's kind of invisible for the average home buyer that's out there. But this might be a differentiator, right? When a home buyer is thinking about, am I going to choose this house in Melrose or this house in Melrose? And all of a sudden, the listing agent has this information that nobody else has about the high performance home features. That might be the piece that moves that home buyer to make an offer on the high performance home versus the typical home that's out there, the lower performance home that's out there. So I think these resources, Stacy, are just absolutely fantastic. And our great partner Pearl Certification is out there. Now, the other piece of this is, I'm going to just try to share one other piece here. I also, give me a second here, think that a lot of agents out there, Stace, they're wondering, okay, all of the stuff is cool about Craig's house, whatever. I don't really understand that there's that much of a market here in this space. And I think that's a real misperception in the marketplace. So this is something called the Green Building Registry. I'll just grab the URL, pop it into the chat here. And feel free as I go through Melrose, Massachusetts, to take a look at your city or town where you live or you serve and see how many homes fit into the Green Building Registry. So Melrose is a small community just north of Boston. We have, about 7,000 homes that are owner occupied. We have also a lot of rental property as well. But you can see that there are 664 homes, about 10% of the owner occupied homes have significant enough green building improvements to appear on this registry, right? And I'm going to go down to, this is my home right here. So the two condos are both on the Green Building Registry. This is mine specifically, but you can see there's an address here, has my HERS score of 59, the fact that it's Pearl certified gold in it, right? Another important use of this particular tool is that in Massachusetts, there's also all of the solar PV data on the home. So across the street from me, this lovely woman owns a 3-family, and she put solar PV on the top of the rooftop. When I hit show details, look at the details that are there. Those align perfectly with MLS PIN's requirements for solar PV data fields in MLS PIN. So if you are listing a home and you're using our main MLS in Massachusetts, MLS PIN, it will be asking you who owns the system. Well, look, it's right here. It will be asking you the size of the system. Look, 6.08 kilowatts right there. It will be asking you the estimated or actual annual production of in kilowatt hours used in the system. And look, it's right here. So all of this information, Stacy, I see it so many times that we see homes with solar PV on the rooftop, and the listing agent, because they don't know this information, they don't know where to get it, they leave those data fields unfilled. And that's a problem for everybody in the marketplace: appraisers, lenders, buyers out there looking for these features. And one would hope that we would all be professional enough to know where all the tools are, and that's what we certainly try to supply for our agents at LAER Realty Partners. One other thing I'm going to point out, just in terms of the bag of chaos piece of this, Stacy, right, that you pointed out. Here's another bag of chaos piece that we're seeing emerging. So this is a home in Chelmsford. I chose this because this is where our office, our headquarters is, on Zillow, right? So every active listing on Zillow, if you scroll down far enough, you will see that there is information, this was added last year, about climate risks for the home. What does that mean? How do you, so imagine, Stacy, I'm at an open house. I haven't really, thought about this stuff. I haven't looked on Zillow for the tool, and I'm in the middle of an open house. It's active. I've got people in the kitchen that are talking to me. One of the home buyers comes running down the stairs, and he's got his phone open, and he's waiting for the right time to kind of jump into the conversation. And he says, "Hey, Mr. Listing Agent, what does this mean that there's a climate risk wind factor major and a heat factor major for this home? What does this mean?" Right? And I'm willing to bet you many of the agents on this phone call have never even thought to think about this, right? Mm-hmm. Well, I'm going to share one other thing that we have in our toolbox here. So this is LAER Agent Services dashboard, right? And what we've been looking at throughout this whole presentation. And you're going to see in the agent toolbox that there's a sustainability little home here. So I'm going to click on that and just let you know the resources that we have already loaded up in here, including the Green Appraisal Addendum, including Pearl certification, including an article I wrote on selling and valuing high-performance homes. So this is a good basic level starter on the process of high-performance valuation. The Green Building Registry is on here. Something from Rewiring America and Pearl certification about some of the tax incentive packages that are out there. But I also have a script in here for realtors on climate risk. The script was actually created by National Association of Realtors about specifically the tools that you see here on Zillow. So we have a script on how to answer this question. If I were asked this question at an open house, I would say, thank you so much for the question. I really appreciate the question. And you really do need to be thinking about climate risk in your purchase of real estate. We're seeing these extreme weather events. I mean, we've seen a ton of them this last week that are impacting the real estate industry. So I thank you so much for the question. And in fact, Zillow has entered into a licensing agreement with a company called First Street Foundation, which you see here on the app as well. They're a leader in the climate space, and they're looking 15 and 30 years forward using predictive analytics to come up with these scores. So when you click on these buttons, you'll also see some of the risk factors and some of the solutions for them in there as well. But I think a really important tool is that Chelmsford has done a climate vulnerability assessment and has made a climate action plan. So the city has identified the areas, the neighborhoods that they think have the most climate vulnerability, and they have an action plan over time to invest in those neighborhoods to make them more safe from some of these risks. So I would say, Stacy, if you were that buyer that was asking this question, Stacy, if you give me your email address, I will forward you the climate vulnerability assessment, the climate action plan for Chelmsford, and I would definitely ask you to take a look at that as part of your due diligence when you're making your decisions about buying a home. And Stacy, do you have a buyer's agent? Are you being represented by anybody? I'm going to assume that the answer is no. And I'm going to say, well, I'd love to represent you in the marketplace because I think a lot about these issues, and our company is a leader in this space as well. So just some of the tools that are out there and how this works practically in the everyday real estate transaction, the types of questions. And I know I have heard from agents in Massachusetts, and certainly I'm sure in Florida as well, where some of our offices are, that they've been asked these very questions. So I just want to make sure that you all have the tools available in our LAER Agent Services toolbox to be able to answer some of these questions. As Stacy said, we also have some really fantastic buyer and listing agent presentations in there. I would encourage you to take a look at those and think along the lines of a green designated agent. And maybe there's one or two of those things that you want to steal from the buyer presentation that you want to put in the standard presentation that you've already downloaded that Stacy has put together, right? Maybe you want to use some of these completely. But I would encourage you to when you think about any kind of presentation, is you want this ultimately to be in your own language, right? You want to be fluent in the conversation to be able to guide your clients in the way that you feel comfortable talking about all of this information. And again, all of this stuff is downloadable through Canva. You can change it all. You can make it be part of your language. But that's part of the stuff that we do in the green designation training, is that we want you to be more fluent in this high performance home world, in this really rapidly evolving marketplace that's out there. So I just wanted to kind of share some of those resources, Stacy, that's out there, and make sure everybody knows that there's huge opportunities in this marketplace, and we need to be a little bit more educated about them. If you're not comfortable with this, I would really encourage you to refer that business over to an agent that has spent the time, energy, and money to become more fluent in these conversations, Stacy. That's what I have.
All right, awesome stuff. And as a broker owner, I think that one of the things you can do, first of all, going to all the content that Craig just shared, even like the content of what do all those little buttons mean on the Zillow site, that is an opportunity for you to showcase your substance through videos, through social media. There's so much in this business of real estate agents displaying ego, and there's so much opportunity for agents to display substance. Like take these little pieces and do a little video or do a social media post. I like to say, roughly 2 years ago, I recruit a lot, and I wrote a little booklet for real estate agents on how do you select a brokerage? And I made sure it was not about recruiting them. And like, what are the things that, because nobody teaches anybody how to select a real estate brokerage, just like so few real estate agents are teaching their buyers, like, what does all this stuff mean? So I wrote this little booklet about how to select a real estate brokerage for real estate agents. And then I created the booklet, I created a little class on it, and it's one of our most watched videos. People from all over watch this video. We've had agents join the brokerage because of the video, but it is like, don't follow the common path in real estate. And I think the common path is constantly out there talking about how great you are as an agent. If you're great, you don't have to talk about it. People know it. If you're great, you're showing the consumer all this stuff that they don't know. Like there's thousands and thousands just in the green designation alone. And I think any designation, by the way, is wonderful because right off the bat, you're separating yourself from everybody else. But break all of that down. Even the content of the green designation, you have probably 5 years of marketing content that you could dissect to show how different you are. But beyond that, beyond the fact that you can make yourself like really awesome in the business and really stand out, if you're not digging in somewhat into the green stuff, you are becoming a liability for your brokerage because there's so much. I have said I've now owned a brokerage now for 25 years, and there's more lawsuits today than ever in the past 25 years, in the last 12 to 24 months. And so you have to be knowledgeable on this stuff just to protect your own license, your own business, and your brokerage. And if you're a realtor, I mean, the code of ethics, you're committing to that anyways, that you're going to refer a customer off if you can't answer questions properly. So,
I mean, I think just about that Zillow thing and the script that we have
yes,
in our toolkit about a first-time home buyer presentation that you were talking about earlier.
yes,
Say you're able to grab with a lender and an attorney, 10 people at a brewery to do a first-time home buyer presentation. Think about the value of just talking about that script on Zillow about the climate
100%.
risk element of it. I mean, that's making you distinct from 99% of the agents that are out there.
100%. Good stuff. Thank you, Craig.
Yep, you got it.
All right, let's go back. We have so much more to cover. Let's see. All right, we're back at our agent services dashboard. We've already gone through a ton of stuff that you guys should be adding to your top list of things to execute on after you leave today. So we've been through all of this marketing section for the most part, all the Canva templates, the newsletters, the presentations, you name it. There's one more piece I want to cover for my section. I'm then going to have Sergio from our marketing department give you a very brief overview of some additional marketing tools. But before I do that, I wanted to go to signs, apparel, and marketing. I said a few minutes ago we'd come back to this. Under signs, apparel, and marketing, we have, first of all, if you're a LAER agent, you can order all your LAER signs here as well. There's these links for buying business cards or apparel, all kinds of LAER stuff. But when you go to the very bottom, there's a little section called print marketing. There's some really cool tools here for your business. And some of these should be on your top 5 to 10 things that you're going to execute on after you leave today's program. So I actually have a presentation about these. So let me head over. Actually, I'm going to scroll all the way back. All right, this is actually 9 different marketing and branding technologies that I think you should be incorporating into your business to be a successful real estate agent. I like to always start by saying I don't get paid anything from any of these companies, so I don't want you to think I'm pitching something because I'm getting a payment for it. I get paid nothing. I just know these work. I've seen we have successful agents using these technologies. So, first one, MLSmailings.com. As you grow your business, eventually you get to a point that the only way to grow further is by leverage, using systems that are working for you, set it and forget it systems. And one of those set it and forget it systems that's so simple is MLSmailings.com. This is a company that does just listed and just sold postcards. I think a great place to show up is in somebody's mailbox, only because less agents do that. In the digital world, it's really hard to get somebody's attention because we have so much digital stuff like in front of us at all times, social media, like it's hard to get away from the digital stuff, which means the opportunity lies in the stuff you can see and touch. That's why I'm a fan of MLSmailings.com, because it's not just the fact that they do just listed, just sold postcards. It's the fact that they've created a way so that it hooks in with your MLS. So you can create a set it and forget it system. You tell MLS Mailings, I want 100 postcards to go to all the 100 neighbors when I just list a house and when I sell a house. I want 100 postcards going out. This will hook in with your MLS and will automatically, as soon as you get a new listing, it sends you an email saying, here's the mailing we're about to send, letting them know that you just listed this property. So, and it's not super expensive. There's standard postcards to send out 100, which is a regular size postcard, is $96. If you want a jumbo postcard, it's $127. That's for 100. Second one, this one is also one of my favorites, tpmco.com, the personal marketing company. So there's a statistic that says that this is from the National Association of Realtors. They did a survey of home buyers, and 89% of home buyers, after they close on a home, 89% say they would use their real estate agent again. They were happy with their real estate agent. But in reality, the number that actually do use the same real estate agent a second time is super low. Very few people use the same real estate agent again. Whose fault is that? Ours. Most real estate agents, we spend so much time working on ways to get business, to attract business. And then once we attract the business, we spend all of our time doing a good job untangling that bag of chaos that we just took on. And then by the time we're at the end of it, we show up at the closing, we give a closing gift, we say thank you for everything, please send me your referrals, and then we move on to the next transaction. And many real estate agents forget to stay in touch so that 5 years or 3 years out, that consumer ends up buying through another real estate agent. So what if we were able to stay in touch consistently through 5 years after the closing? That's what TPMCO does. It sends a marketing campaign over 5 years. It's a mix of magazines branded to you and postcards and letters. It's a mix, but over 5 years, that consumer will get several pieces from you. I think it's a total of 20 pieces from you over a 5-year period. And the total out-of-pocket expense for you is $48. That's a one-time charge of $48, and that includes the postage. So here's that statistic again. 89% of buyers would use their agent again or recommend their agents to others. However, only 11% actually do. So that is why you need to have some sort of stay in touch campaign. By the way, it should be more than just this, but at least if you put people into this campaign, if you forget to do the other stuff, at least you're still getting your touch in. I think you should also have your people in an email campaign, things like that. Direct mail has a 90% open rate. In other words, 90% of the people who receive it are at least going to look at it. They're not going to just chuck it. And here's the campaign that the consumer gets. So 21 mailings over 5 years. And like I said, some of them are a magazine that has your picture and contact info on the front. Some of them are these little postcards, but most importantly, it's set it and forget it. So you set it up once, you pay your $48, there's no recurring charge, and the person will get a thank you mailing, post 10 home topic postcards, and 10 issues of Today's Living magazine with your content down at the bottom. So by the way, this is if you're interested in evaluating what TPMCO's marketing pieces look like, you can scan this QR code and they'll send you a free kit so that you can kind of evaluate the postcards and see the quality of them. Number 3, Wise Pelican. By the way, we did a class yesterday with the folks at Wise Pelican. So one of the reasons I love I'm sorry, Wise Pelican, we did 3 weeks ago, a class. We have another RSP we did a class yesterday with. Wise Pelican is really cool for print marketing pieces as well. Brochures, letters, greeting cards. Specifically, why I love Wise Pelican is because it does these postcards where it will pull in your listing information. So you don't have to type out, say you got a new listing, you just type in your MLS number and it will pull in all of your stuff. Plus, I think Wise Pelican has the best quality as far as postcards and print materials. But when you go in to create your marketing piece, for example, you got a new listing. Now, the downside to this, it's not set it and forget it, whereas MLS mailings is set it and forget it. But if you want something a little higher quality to send to the neighborhood, you just load the information from MLS, you set up your feed. It also, they have a QR code on every mailer so that you can do lead capture. Even if you don't have a CRM system, some agents don't have a CRM to do the lead capture. Wise Pelican will set it up for you. They'll create the landing page and collect the lead and send it to you. RSP USA is number 4. They're the one we did a class with yesterday. And what I love RSP USA for is if you do a lot of work in condo associations or homeowners associations, which is a big part of our business in Florida, they have these really nice market reports that they'll do, where you just plug in the property address of the property you just sold, and it makes this post, it makes like a 8.5 by 11 sheet that shows all the recent sales. It puts your picture, your contact information. I also love that they have RSP USA is also wonderful for expired campaigns, because you can do a campaign mailing, just like you're familiar with email campaigns, where you can press one button and that person's going to receive several emails from you over time. RSP USA does that, but with postcards. Anyways, if you go to our YouTube station at youtube.com/LAER, LAER training, you will find a class from yesterday of all the cool stuff you can do with RSP USA. Next, Xiaomi. If you are an agent that needs somebody to go show a house for you next week or cover a home inspection for you, this is on-demand showing agents. So by the way, the agents, you basically set a price. Say, hey, I need you to show one house for $50 and I'll give you a $10 tip. And then you basically pay the other agent to go show a house for you. What's great about this is 2 things. One, if you can't get somebody in your office to cover for you and you need to show a property, this is a quick fix. You'll find somebody at Xiaomi. But also, I see agents that go out and try to find other jobs where they can make some extra money. Why not be a Xiaomi agent and get paid to just go look at inventory throughout the day? Next is the Exposio app. I am a huge fan of professional photography on all listings, even if it's a low price listing, does not matter. The Exposio app is for agents that don't pay for professional photography. This will turn your iPhone photos into almost professional photography. So I still think professional photography is actually one better than this. But basically here you go take all of your pictures, then through the Exposio app, it re-exposes the photo so it looks even sharper and clearer than your iPhone photo. And then it will show you what each photo looks like exposed, re-exposed. And then you pay only for the ones that you want to download. And it costs $1 a photo. And they have packages you can buy to get it less expensive. But if you don't want to sign a contract or anything, you can just pay $1 per photo for the ones that you want to have made look nice. Yellow Letters Complete. This is a company that will do handwritten note cards for you. So let's say that you want to send a personal handwritten note card to 200 people. and you can't do it. You don't physically have the time to send 200 handwritten note cards. YellowLettersComplete.com, they'll do that for you. They have two options. You can do AI generated signature that looks like it's handwritten, or if you want actual authentic handwritten note card, they'll do that as well. And next is Markful. We love Markful because they have all kinds of cool layer gear, especially, but for any brokerage, they have all kinds of awesome stuff that you can buy. And then last is homes.com. So one of the reasons I love homes.com is because they're not Zillow. They're different than Zillow. Zillow never shares in a significant way who the listing agent is. Homes.com always shares who the listing agent is on their listings. But anyways, Homes.com is outspending Zillow right now on advertising. So you can create a profile on, by the way, you can create one for free. So everybody should go create their free Homes.com profile. But also you can buy advertising through them. So you become a featured agent when somebody goes on to look for an agent at homes.com. The pricing is based on how much business you did in the last 12 months. So pricing is different for everybody. So those are some of the cool apps. Specifically, I really love MLS Mailings and the Personal Marketing Co., TPMCO, because those are some set it and forget it systems that just a small little tweak to your business can have a huge impact. One transaction, because you set up this little teeny system for $48, that can be game changing for you. All right, next up, before we exit out of the marketing section, because we still have a lot to cover, I want to invite Sergio on real quick to just give you guys a quick demo of our marketing stuff. And welcome, Sergio.
Thanks, Stacy. I'm going to share my screen. All right, so I'm going to go over a couple of the programs we have for our LAER agents in terms of marketing. You can see my screen, right? Sure. All right.
Yes.
First, it's the our marketing bundle. So as a LAER agent, once your listing goes live on the MLS, our team gets to work. We create this marketing bundle for you. We send you Canva templates. This includes a brochure as well as social media pieces that cover the whole transaction of your listing. So from new listing all the way to just sold. This is delivered to you as an email. So if you are a LAER agent, look out for this. We deliver this to you within 24 hours of your listing going live on the MLS. So let me give you a demo of what that looks like. You'll see an email that looks just like this, your concierge marketing package. You will see 3 links. The last link is to download your bundle. This will take you to a Google Drive folder where you can download the brochure as well as the social media pieces. We also include some other pieces alongside. We include a LAER brochure, a CTC closings flyer. This is our preferred closings vendor, as well as a preferred insurance vendor. We include an open house sign-in sheet. This is a very simple sign-in sheet. If you go to our LAER agent services, we have some other open house resources you can use, but we like to include one of these just so you have it handy. Now, you can use this as is. You can download these. You can print out this PDF. You can send it out to print at Staples. You don't need a Google Drive account to use this. However, if you are a LAER agent and you have a Google Workspace email with us, you will also have access to a Google Drive where you can then save this folder on your account. I'm going to go back to the email because we also include Canva templates. So for the flyer, we have a Canva template. As long as you're signed into Canva, this will open up right in Canva. What I'm going to do is make a copy of this so I can show you how easy it is to make changes to your documents. You're able to, if you have a price change down the line, let's say it goes down 10K, we can just type in the new price. And then we can hit share on the top here and then download. We can download this as an image if you want to just send this as an image through email, but we can also download this as a PDF print. I can download a high quality print version of this PDF, which I can then print out at any of our offices, or I can send out to print at FedEx Kinko's or Staples. They're ready to go. Now the same is with the social media pieces. Again, if I want to make any changes to this, I can do so just by clicking on our object here, clicking once more to bring in the cursor, and then typing in the new number, or if you want to change your anything, the name, phone number, the images. If you want to switch out the photos, it's very easy. You can just upload a new image. I don't have one of this particular home, but I can just click and drag and it will snap into place. Now with Canva, you're actually able to post directly to social media. Now you're able to click on share and download. You can download these as PNGs and then, download them on your phone, post to social media that way. But there is a feature, if you click on see all, scroll down to social, you're able to connect any of these services, Instagram, Facebook page, Twitter, X, etc., and post directly to social media from this document. So if I want to post on my Facebook page, I would have to connect an account. I don't think this one has one. This particular account doesn't have one connected. But you choose the page that you want to publish. In this case, if I want to do a featured listing, I would choose page 2, and then I can post directly to social media from my Canva account. If I have Canva Pro, just to note, you can use any of these with the free version of Canva, but if I want to schedule out my post, and I have Canva Pro, I can do so by using the schedule to calendar post, or the schedule post link. Now we can go back to our email because we also include some other resources. One of them being a link to our 4-page brochure order form. Now you saw this already, but if you have a listing that has nice photos, you want to really feature the drone shots that you got, you can order one of these 4-page brochures. It looks just like this. So we can go to our next slide. It looks just like this. It prints out on 11 by 17. Again, we have large images. So in the form itself, you can order one, but you can also upload the original images. Now we can get them from the MLS, and for the most part they work fine. But if you want to have really nice sharp images, you can upload them. There is a minimum of 16 photos, just because this is a large document. We do have a lot of images on that document, so we want to make sure we fill it all up. So you want to upload at least 16 photos. You can give us your MLS number. If it is listed on the MLS, we can grab the information from there, and then we send this over to you. Now you do need to order these. We don't create these for every listing. So once you receive your marketing bundle, you can order one of these, or you can order one ahead of time. If you do order one ahead of time, you make sure to give us information about your listing, how many bedrooms, bathrooms, etc. The next thing I'm going to go over is our monthly social media. So at the beginning of the month, we send out 6 to 8 social media posts that cover 4 weeks of content. We give you an email as well as a text message. We like to give you the text message because you receive it with your phone, and then you can download the images. We give you suggested captions as well, so you can post those directly from your phone. But for now, I'm going to show you the email that you get. So for example, we have July. This was sent out at the beginning of July. Again, we have 4 weeks of content. we include an image, but we also give you a suggested caption. Now, the caption you can use as is, but we do recommend that you tailor your caption to kind of fit your local markets. You can add your information, your phone number, etc. These are very easy to use. For example, we have this one. We just click on download, and you can do this on your phone as well. And then for the caption itself on the email, you can just highlight, copy, and paste. There is an edit in Canva button. So if you want to go in, and again, as long as you're signed into Canva, you are able to edit this post. Let's say you want a different image for this particular post. You can search Canva's stock images and then replace it that way. Or if you want to switch out the logo, you can do so as well. So like I mentioned, we include a lot of real estate posts, but we also give you some quick holiday posts that you can post. Now, we give you this content because we also have a social media library. Again, you can use these 4 weeks, this is fresh content, but you can also leverage this with our social media library. Now, in our social media library, if you go to our marketing center, and there's other ways of getting this link, but here it is. We include different categories. We have keys to buying and selling. We have mindset and quotes, as well as holiday posts. We also have some Facebook covers. Now, this content we have accumulated over the many years we have done these social media posts. These are all ready to use. You're able to search through them. And so be sure to look through all of this content. And so that is our social media. And that's it for me.
All right. Awesome stuff. Thank you, Sergio. All right. We have 40 minutes left and so much to cover. Hold on one sec. Let me reshare. And we're going to go back to our LAER Agent Services dashboard where all these free tools are saved in one place for you. And we're finally going to move into, there we go. We're finally going to move into, we just spent the last 2 hours for the most part going through all the marketing, branding, and presentations. We're going to now move down to agent growth and development for a few minutes. So first, there's 3 buttons here. The first one is classes, meetings, and coaching. Couple things I want to show you under here is first, if you like the content of today and you want to participate in more LAER classes, you can see our upcoming training right here. This is like a live training calendar of all of our upcoming classes. By the way, if you scroll to the very bottom, you can actually integrate this calendar with your either Google Calendar or iPhone calendar. That way it'll be an overlay on your schedule. So when it just makes it so you won't miss a class. As well, we have a printable training calendar that goes out at the beginning of every month so that you can see all of the latest classes that are coming up for the month, some of the highlights for the month as well. So that's always good to just print it and have it near your desk. Also, if you haven't done this already, please do it now. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube station. The reason for this is because we constantly put out training, like constantly. Each week there's a handful of training classes that we put out, and our stuff is good, as you can see, because you've sat in this program today. Everything we do is chock full of content. So to make sure that you never miss any of our classes, if you go to our youtube.com/LAER training and subscribe, then every time we add a new class, it'll just send you a little push notification on your phone that we just uploaded a new class. That way you can go watch it when you have some free time. And a couple other things. If you're a LAER agent, you're eligible for our coaching program. So first, I should note all of our coaching is built around our Algorand system. I'll tell you more about that in a second. But if you want to have one-on-one coaching, it's not technically one-on-one, it's small group. It's 5 agents maximum and 1 coach. It's a 6-month program. This is for agents that are going through the Algorand program. Algorand is our system to get agents to a production point of 30 transactions a year. And so if you sign up for our coaching, then you're assigned a coach. There's 2 coaching calls a month. You're with a small group of other agents, and our coach helps work you through the Algorand system. By the way, you can actually do the Algorand system on your own as well. So if you go to this button, the laerrealty.com/12-week Algorand, you can actually download our Algorand workbook. If you're a LAER agent, you should have an actual hard copy of that workbook, because when you join LAER, we send it as part of our welcome package. If you're a LAER agent, you can also just email happyagent@laerrealty.com if you need a new Algorand workbook. But also you can download it here at Algorand, laerrealty.com/12-week Algorand. And then I highly recommend that as you work yourself through that program, Algorand is a step-by-step system to grow a real estate business. Like I said, our goal is to get agents to a place where you're doing 30 transactions a year. And that's what this system is. There's nothing like it in our industry, and we've had tremendous success. Our agents have had amazing success by completing the program. In addition to the workbook, we also have a 12-part course. So you can actually right here watch all the courses. So session 1 goes over an overview of Algorand. Session 2 goes into the yearly action checklist. The whole system is built off of a checklist manifesto for every piece of your business. So that is all included right there under 12-week Algorand. We also have a new agent resource center, which is great if you're brand new. We've written a guide, for example, on real estate, like that physical house. It's like a 50-page booklet of things to notice around houses, from heating types of heating systems to roofs. We look at it from like a home inspection point of view, things to consider when you're out showing property. So that is all under classes, meetings, and coaching. Under business plans and growth systems, you'll find a few things. Number 1, you'll see our Algorand program, our Algorand system again, because this is our preferred method to help you get to 30 transactions. You'll also see some agents prefer just a traditional business planning guide. We also have that. So this is like a traditional, if you Googled business plan for real estate agents, that's what this is. If you have a team, this business plan is kind of cool to sit down and do with your team. And then we also created a simple plan, which is a totally different type of business plan. If you want to have a massive change in the amount of business you do, like you've been doing $2 million. By the way this all works is that if you're doing $2 million in real estate sales last year, you're going to do about $2 million in real estate sales this year, and you're going to do about $2 million in real estate sales next year. Because once you become comfortable with the version of real estate agent who you are, that is where you will maintain your business. But what happens if you're not happy with that number? What happens if you want to be at $10 million or $20 million or $40 million a year in business? You have to become a different version of yourself. And so this simple plan walks you through a system for you to consider. Who is the agent that you want to become? What does that avatar look like as a real estate agent? And then what do you have to do to become that real estate agent? So there's 3 different plans there for you to consider. Then let's go back. And then we also have a link for CE classes. That's just a link to the CE shop. Okay, down here we have some more tools. Craig got to show you a little bit about the sustainability section. We also have some other tech tools here. I'm going to go through that in a second. If you're a LAER agent, we like to make sure you get paid fast when you close on a transaction. So these are all the tools for getting paid quickly. Here is like our online check request form when you have a closing, our mobile deposit, e-check system, things like that. And whoops. There we go. We also have an agent safety section here. Super important. We wrote our own booklet on agent safety. So highly encourage you to check that out. It's coming out as a blank screen. Oh, there it is. Just my internet. So we wrote our own booklet. It's a 14-page guide to agent safety. You can actually download a PDF of it here. But also we listed a whole bunch of tools for you to consider looking into as a real estate agent so that you remain safe when you're conducting your business. Okay. Next, I want to go through quickly a couple pieces of technology. Actually, I'm going to go back to our program guide. So we spent all morning. One of the biggest pieces that agents want help with, by the way, as a reminder, you can download this guide at laerrealty.com/success tools. But one of the things agents want help with the most is marketing and branding, and that's where we spent most of our morning. You have already seen all of these pieces throughout the presentation. Next, I want to just go briefly over a couple of pieces of really cool technology that can take your business to a whole new level. So first at LAER, there's certain technology that every agent at LAER gets, from dot loop to app files to showing time, cloud CMA. All these are just part of who we are and what we offer at LAER. But one of the things agents ask when shopping for a brokerage is, are there any tech fees to be associated with your company? We have an optional $39 a month tech bundle, and that tech bundle includes 3 products. It includes Fellow, Boston Logic, and Real Scout. Fellow is a CRM system. Boston Logic is an agent website, and Real Scout is a property search portal. Briefly, here's what Fellow does, and this is why we love it. Fellow is a CRM system that sends to everybody in your database every 2 weeks an automated valuation of their home. So every time you meet somebody, you put them into the Fellow system, and every 2 weeks they will receive an automated valuation. So it'll say, hey, today your house is worth $500,000. It goes on to explain to them that it's an automated valuation, and that the true value, the best way to get the true value of the house is to have the agent come do a CMA, and there's a button that they can fill out and say, I want a CMA, and that goes to you. The reason why we love this CRM particularly is because let's say you have 300 people in your database. One of the challenges we have as real estate agents is, do we spend the same amount of time trying to cultivate all 300 people in our database to send us business, or should we better spend our time by focusing on a few? So the CRM system of Fellow does both. Number one, every 2 weeks, everybody in your database is getting an automated valuation of their home. By the way, even if it's not accurate, it doesn't matter, because on the back end, it then tells you, out of these 300 people, these are the 10 who are right now engaging with the system. These are the 10 who want to know what the value of their house is. And then it rates your whole database by saying, of your 300 people, these 10 are most likely going to sell their house this year. Now you can hyper focus additional marketing and time resources on the 10 who are focused on potentially selling their house. By the way, if this piques your interest, by the way, at LAER, our entire tech bundle is $39 a month, and you get all 3 products. If you were to just go buy Fellow for yourself, that alone is $300. So this is a massive savings to our agents. We subsidize it because we know how awesome it is for your business. So if you like what you're hearing and you want to investigate more, if you go to laerrealty.com/fellow, so laerrealty.com/fellow, we have 2 classes there. One is the intro class that shows you all the magic that Fellow can do for your database. And then also we have a separate 1-hour class that we did with the CEO of Fellow so that you can see some additional ways to kind of hack your database to get the most out of it. Second part of the $39 a month tech bundle is your agent website. Our team builds the entire website. Our company website is based off of Boston Logic. This is just an agent version of it. It's templated. You can go in and make changes to it, but you really don't have to, because our team, we have a person on staff that all they do is customize websites for our agents, so they'll take care of that for you. The third part of the $39 a month tech bundle is Real Scout. This is a game changer for your business. That's why I want to have Ashley from our tools team come on to give you guys an overview of the Real Scout system. Why is it so important? Well, as you may recall, when I was showing you guys the buyer presentation from earlier, one of the slides in the buyer presentation was explaining to the consumer why they should not go to Zillow to look for real estate. Because if you're letting your consumer go to Zillow to look for real estate, I promise you, you're losing business to Zillow, because their job is to get the business away from you to an agent who's going to pay them for the lead. So, it's important to have in your buyer presentation a slide. So step 1 is you have to have a slide within your presentation to talk about why the consumer should not go to Zillow. That's step 1 to your checklist manifesto for buyer agency. But then step 2 is you better have a really good place for them to go look for real estate, a search experience that's even better than Zillow. And for us, we believe that's Real Scout. So I'll have Ashley give you top 10 things that Real Scout can do for your buyers.
Hi, Stacy. Thank
Hi.
you. I'm just gonna go ahead and share my screen. Present, go back. Can everyone see my screen?
Almost. Says you started, but it hasn't shown yet.
Here we go.
Yep, we can see.
Perfect. Let me just go into the present mode. Okay. This over so everyone can see. Okay. I gotta go back. I went too far ahead. So what I like to do is there's always an app for everything most of the time nowadays, right? You always hear, oh, there's an app for that. There's an app for that. Download the app. Real Scout's no different. However, there are 2 versions of that app in Real Scout. One of them is going to be for the agent dashboard. So if you are an agent and you have Real Scout, you're going to want to download the one that says Real Scout Agent Dashboard. And you're going to know that it's for the agents because the background is going to be black with a white house. The consumer version is going to be a white background with a black house, and it's only going to say Real Scout Home Search. So if you don't see the Real Scout Agent Dashboard, and you download the one that just says Real Scout Home Search, you're downloading the consumer version, not the agent version. So those are the two differences to tell how that app is. If you have an iOS versus Android versus Motorola, the icons might look a little different, but overall they're going to be the same. The next thing I like to do is each user in Real Scout, they have their own unique sign up links. So up above your live feed on your main screen when you first log in, there's something that says Market My Real Scout Platform. If you click on that, you're going to get two unique links. The first link is a client search page where you can engage prospective buyers and generate new leads. And the second one is you can generate another link to onboard people, and that will invite them to create their own search. So there's two different ways you can self-generate, self-market, self-farm, however you build up your business. You can certainly take these full URLs, shrink them down to a bit.ly link, or even a QR code with a free QR code generator, and just use the QR code in your emails, marketing, Roar report, even however you market, you can always add those QR codes as well. The third thing, Ashley, I'm an agent who has multiple licenses. Can I have multiple states or multiple MLSs in Real Scout? You sure can. I'm an agent myself who has 3 licenses, Maine, New Hampshire, Massachusetts. So if you are an agent and you have multiple licenses, your data feed for the property class is going to say cross MLS/basic search if you have all of your MLSs in here. If you only have one MLS, so let's say you have your New Hampshire and your Massachusetts license, but you primarily do business in Massachusetts, and that's the only one you have in Real Scout for your license or MLS, you're not going to worry about the cross MLS feature. That's only if you have more than one license or MLS in your Real Scout account. Now, to determine which MLS you're in, you're just going to click down on the data feed / property class. You're going to drop it down. And then if you have a client looking in Massachusetts, you would select MLS. Now, Prime MLS, formerly known as NARN for New Hampshire, they break theirs down into categories. So if you have somebody who's looking for, say, a commercial sale, you're going to have to scroll down and select the commercial sale category or residential. Maine, it's all together. I don't know about any other state because I'm not licensed in any other state. But for New Hampshire, it breaks it down. So you just have to click residential property, commercial lease, commercial sale, rental, etc. The next thing is how to add a contact. Super easy. You can, on the top right corner, there's a button that says add contact /alert. Click on that, enter their information. I always put their email, their first name, their last name, and then the source. So if it's an SOI, realtor.com, Veterans United, or the Realty Network Solutions, which is the conventional side of Veterans United, I always put that in there. They're still in my CRM as well with the source, but I like to put it in here as well. And then Real Scout also added these tags. So if you have a buyer, you can label them as a buyer. If you have a seller or a buyer and seller or other, and then you would click on create client. It's going to ask you then to type in the criteria fields. So how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, square feet, if they're looking for acreage. But what's unique about Real Scout is Real Scout will allow them towards the bottom of the criteria field, will allow you to put in a school district or a particular school in a particular school district if you have a client that has those needs. Now, if you have, let's say you have Follow-Up Boss and you have all of your contacts in a CSV file and you want to put all of your buyers in Follow-Up Boss into Real Scout, we can now import CSV files. We don't have to do contacts one by one. So if you have a CSV file, we can go ahead and upload a CSV file of all of your buyers in Real Scout. Now, you're also going to want to select the frequency when you are setting up your client on the alert. And what I mean by that is how often are they getting email alerts for properties that match their criteria. They have ASAP, they have handpicked. So if you do handpicked, you're just gonna have to come in to Real Scout in the morning or in the evening, go through all of the matches that were sent to that client and then send them to that client. They're not going to be automated. You can have them sent in the AM or in the PM or ASAP or not at all. I always do mine ASAP, so it's instantaneous. And I like this feature. Real Scout allows you to check a box that says send a copy to myself. I always do that. So if I'm on the road all day from an open house to showings on Saturday or Sunday, and I don't have my computer to look in MLS, I'm still going to be alerted as to what my clients are being matched to just by an email, and I get the pictures and all of the information that the listing has. There's different unique ways you can search, so you can draw your own outline, you can draw a polygon, you can draw a rectangle, you can do a radius. Now, I will say, if you do any particular shape besides the radius, you will have 4 points total. So you will have your point A, point B, point C, point D. But to close the square, you have to bring your point D back to your point A, right? Or how many ever points you have. Your last point has to get connected to your first point. If you don't connect them, the shape that you draw is not going to be closed, and it's not going to generate or search for that particular area unless you close that shape. Again, as I just mentioned when we were going through the criteria, the school districts, you can also search by condo association name, development name, subdivision name, zip code, county, town name, all of that stuff that you can do in MLS, you can do in Real Scout. Now, if you are doing a cross MLS search in Real Scout, meaning you're having your New Hampshire MLS and your Massachusetts MLS at the same time, you're not going to get the more unique ways to search, such as the school district. That's just for one MLS. So if you're doing a cross MLS search, you're just going to have more of your basic search. I do like to mention that as well. The next quick thing I have is how do you update a client? Super, super simple. Over on the left-hand side of Real Scout, you're going to have your navigation panel. You just click on contacts, and then you would click on the contact name. And then once you click on the contact name, it's going to bring all of the alerts that you have open for them. So let's say Ashley wants to change her price point. She wants to increase it. You would go to the listing alert. You would go over to the actions. Right below actions, you would click on the edit. It's going to bring up all of the listings that are currently in Ashley's search. Click on edit filters. It's going to bring up the criteria fields for you. And then you can just go ahead and update any of the criteria fields that need to be updated. Once you update those particular fields and you click save, it's going to ask you, do you want to send an alert now with unread listings? So what that means is if there's any new listings because of the price increase or because of the town change or bedroom count increase, right? If you have new matches, it's going to ask, do you want to send now or not now? So if you don't send them, you can just manually send them after you go through them, or you can just have them sent automatically. Auto nurture for clients. Love this feature. I have this enabled for all my clients. And what this basically does is it just is a great way to keep in touch with your clients on an, again, automated system. We love automation. Set it and forget it with a drip campaign to stay top of mind. So this basically means that if there's not enough data, Auto Nurture is going to create an email campaign with relevant listings. But let's also say you have a client set up on a search. They start looking at 2-bedroom, 1-bath homes, and you have 3-bed, 1-bath. The Auto Nurture is also going to cater to the search that they're searching. So that's what I love about the Auto Nurture feature. Monthly market activity report. This just shows what's going on in a particular section of a town or in a particular town. So how many buyers, how many buyer interactions there have been, what are the hot properties, what are recently listed, recently sold. What I like about this is that you can see how many other buyers are looking in the area that you might have a buyer looking in. So I had buyers last year who wanted to put an offer in on a condo in Pittsfield, New Hampshire. So I said, okay, let me do some research, see what we can do to strengthen our offer. So I came in here, I pulled a report for Pittsfield, New Hampshire. The condo that they wanted to get was listed as a top viewed property. And what we ended up doing in our offer was we ended up structuring that if there was anything significant for repairs, we would go back to the seller for, but if it was something such as like a light bulb or a outlet cover had a crack or something like that, we didn't go back to them for the minuscule stuff. We went back to them for the major stuff. And that doing that actually kind of helped my buyers win the offer, and they closed 30 days later. So just using this information to structure your offers differently has helped. You can also use this for sellers. And how can you use this for sellers to properly price a market? So if you have a seller who's up here in price, but all of your data is showing like they should be down here for price, and you want them to see evidence of this is where the buyers are gravitating to, you can print out this map, you can print out this report and give it to them. And then that way they can see, okay, so a house similar to theirs with similar square footage, similar bedrooms, half a mile up the road from them is a top viewed property because it's listed down here versus up here. You can use that for them as well. So what you can use for buyers, you can use for sellers. What you can use for sellers, you can use for buyers. You just have to flip the script a little bit. And then the last thing is, why is Real Scout better than a website? It's an above average search experience for clients, but not only the client, the agent as well. And it's more interactive between the client and the agent. And Stace, one of my biggest pet peeves in MLS is they can only like or dislike a property. Okay, but that's still going to leave you. What do they like? What do they not like? Real Scout allows them to go through certain features, certain amenities, like them, dislike them. And when you log into Real Scout, you're going to have that in your live feed. Whereas MLS, you're still going to have to call them or text them or email them, whatever their preferred communication is. I know that's one of my biggest pet peeves with MLS. So then the property search emails are filled with photos and thumbs up of ratings of properties. There is an app as well, and you can integrate it with most major Real Scout lead platforms. And then I have the Zillow. Why not to use Zillow as the last page? Because Real Scout is 10 times better than Zillow, as Stacy was mentioning earlier. Zillow's not accurate. It's always, okay, this property is a new property, but then you go to MLS and it's already under contract. Well, what good is that going to be for your clients? So just putting this in here as well to hone in on, why you shouldn't use Zillow. And with that, I'm going to give it back to Stacy because I think we have about 10 minutes left.
All
You're
right.
muted. There you go.
Awesome stuff. Let's see. I'm going back to my program guide because we still have a few more things that I want to make sure you guys are aware of. Okay. All right, so you guys got to see a nice demo. Even if you're not a LAER agent, I'm a huge fan of the Real Scout platform. It's worth going out and buying it no matter what. We already been through all of the career development stuff. As I mentioned, we have our own proprietary system called the Algorand system. This helps agents get to 30 transactions a year. It's step-by-step instructions for growing a successful real estate business. As well, we have the coaching program that we layer on top of that if you need an extra level of accountability. And then all kinds of training. So literally every week there's new training that's happening. Not only do we have our regular array of training, but we also throughout the year bring in live content from other trainers within the industry, from Tom Ferry to Michael Mayer to Lee Brown. We like to not only have our own content, our own trainers that are consistently providing great info, but we also partner with some of the best to provide really strong, awesome content for you guys. All of it you can see on our YouTube station. Let's see, agent support services. Couple last things. If you're a LAER agent and you ever need assistance, the best way to get help at our company is happyagent@laerrealty.com. We ask that you don't go direct to our staff. We have 50 plus staff members, but what happens sometimes is if you go direct to our staff to ask for help with something, we as a company don't know that you need help. And if that staff member is on vacation, we have no idea that you needed help. So if you send every request in to happyagent@laerrealty.com, it'll never get missed. If a person's out on vacation, we make sure somebody else takes over and can answer your question. Our goal is to make sure every question gets answered when it comes through the Happy Agent system. So happyagent@laerrealty.com. It is the only email address you need at our company. You need marketing support, you have a question on a paycheck, or you need a copy of your W-2 from 3 years ago, or your 1099 from 3 years ago, or literally anything at all, just send it to happyagent@laerrealty.com and we will assist. As far as making life hassle-free, we have all kinds of other cool technology we incorporate, from Deposit Link and Earnest for collecting escrow deposits without having to drive all over Creation to collect those deposits, to e-checks so that you don't have to drive anywhere to pick up a check for a closing. We'll just email you the check. We also have all these different lead platforms for agents. This page here breaks down all the different companies that provide leads to real estate agents. Some of these are subscription based and some of them are referral fee based lead platforms. So I'm not a fan of subscription based lead platforms. In other words, I'm not a fan of paying monthly for leads because you can pay for a long time and not have a closing. I do like referral fee based platforms. These are companies that you pay only if you end up closing something. I will tell you the referral fees are high, but at least there's no payment if the transaction never comes together. So if you click on these are all live links within the booklet. Again, you can get this book at laerrealty.com/success tools. These are all live links, so you can go through each one, click on it, and sign up. By the way, if there's a roadblock when signing up for leads, note that that's part of the process. Oftentimes, these companies weed out agents by the ones who give up too easy. So even if there's a wait list, still put in all of your information, fill it out, submit it so that you are receiving leads throughout the year. Also like to talk about our LAER committees. If you like having a voice in the tools, the training, technology available at LAER, we would love to have you on one of our many committees that meet once a month through Zoom. And you got to hear from Craig Foley today, our Chief Sustainability Officer, on all the great things happening on the sustainability front. Make sure to check out at laeragentservices.com. Down in the agent toolbox, we have a whole sustainability section with really cool tools in there. And then we are proudly a realtor organization. I know that there's been a lot of pushback over the last 12 months about being part of a realtor organization. Here's my thoughts on it. I believe one of the reasons why we still have the ability to do this great work is because of the realtor organization. Look at it, all the industries that have come and gone. The yellow taxi, the travel agent. We're even seeing the hotel industry change so rapidly. all of that is changing because they didn't have huge lobbying arms and trade organizations that protected their lines of work. We do. So at a minimum, the realtor organization is great because it protects our livelihood. First and foremost, I'm happy to pay $600 a year as an insurance policy to protect my livelihood. But beyond that, you can always get the most out of your realtor membership by engaging, going out and meeting agents, getting referrals from around the country, but also their RPR, the Realtor Property Resource Platform, is really an unbelievable valuation tool that in and of itself would cost more than $600 a year if you were to go buy that platform. Next, if you want to come back and join us for a future boot camp, these all change a little every month because we're constantly changing up the tools and the technologies that we're working with. So these change. I always recommend agents coming a couple of times a year, or at least go and execute on many things and then come back once you've executed. We said at the beginning today, the most important part is to go execute on 5 to 10 items that you learned today. Build your listing presentation, your buyer presentation, get your packages done, your buyer package, your seller package, your investor package, get those packages all done and created. Sign up for MLS mailings, thepersonalmarketingcompany.com. Get all those systems working for you. And once all those systems are working, then come back and take our boot camp again. Because like I said, it changes a little bit every month. One last thing for LAER agents, first off, is if you're a LAER agent and you're in one of our markets where there's several offices, you could go to LAER Realty .com/office access and fill out that form, and our system will email you all the instructions for accessing that office. So because we're one big organization, you can use whatever office you want through the office access link. If you are not a LAER agent and you like any of the stuff you hear today, I'd love to talk to you. Even if we're not in your market, we're open to opening anywhere. Very interested in continuing to grow as a real estate brokerage. And with that, we are out of time. We are exactly 1 minute early. So I want to thank everybody who took their summer morning. I know that it's hard. Nobody wants to get up and get to work on a Friday morning in the middle of summer. So much nicer to go lay out on the beach, but you guys were super committed to find 3 hours to commit to your business. Now the key is to go execute on that. So thank you for your hard work. Thank you to Sergio, Craig, and Ashley for helping us. And we will see you guys next month at the next boot camp. Thanks, everyone.